Welcome to Practical Research Drives Profitable Decisions, brought to you by Becks Hybrids. I'm Mike Adams. You get out of something what you put into it. Old advice that is still true when it comes to soil fertility. Farmers who are getting big yields year after year are probably not replacing the phosphorus and potassium they are removing, according to Eric Wilson, Northeast Iowa field agronomist for Becks.
About 30% of all corn and 30% of all soybean acres in the state of Iowa have this issue. Chances are every farmer's got at least a field, if not probably a third of their acres, that have this issue. The biggest reason is the yield. We're obtaining yields that I don't think anyone could have predicted 5-10 years ago.
Of the three major nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which is showing the biggest decline?
Well, nitrogen is one of those ones that we have to apply every year just because of its mobility. The ones that I focus on for building what I'll call, your base fertility would be PK, and then along with that, pH. But really the focus of what we're talking about is phosphorus and potassium. I guess pound for pound, it does take a little more phosphorus applied to raise your soil test level up 1 ppm, but overall, phosphorus is not the one that I'm seeing the major issues with. Potassium is really the one that I'm seeing to start to decline pretty quickly.
He says the key to regaining control of soil fertility is to start regimented soil testing.
So step one every time is get on a good regimented soil sampling program and stick to it. A lot of the guys that I work with, they're in kind of a 4-year rotation. So what they'll do is they'll sample about 25% of their acres every year. That way they're not trying to swallow that giant soil sampling bill all in 1 year for all their acres. But along with that, soil sampling costs have come down quite a bit. So that has been of great benefit to farmers.
How does maintaining fertility play into better relationships with landowners?
The smart landowners realize that if they have a piece of ground and they want to maintain top dollar rent for that piece of ground, it is in their benefit to make sure that sampling's done. And along with that, some of them have even started to cost share some of those sampling costs with their tenants.
Eric Wilson admits the reality of the day is that grain prices are low and fertilizer is relatively expensive. He still insists a long-term plan is the only way to keep from having more problems in the years ahead. Becks is dedicated to working with growers who want to set up a soil testing and fertility replacement program. Wilson has lots of experience in doing so.
Sometimes, when we have products or fields that don't perform as well as we thought they should have, that's usually a good starting point for me is to start checking fertility. Making assumptions aren't always the best thing. It's nice to have that soil test data and walk them through a decision and set up some long-term plans for how they can move towards better base fertility management in the future.
Eric Wilson, field agronomist with Becks Hybrids. This monthly update on practical farm research and agronomy has been brought to you by Becks Hybrids. You may subscribe to this podcast by following the prompts on this website. Thanks for listening.